and welcome back to the Bookaholics Rehab with me, Jordan. So it's that time of the month again, and it's my July TBR. So this month I read a total of 14 books, which for me was amazing considering how stressful this week has been, like this whole month has been, especially with getting results and graduation and everything like that. So I'm really impressed with myself that I've managed to read that much in this month. So let's get started. I'm not going to do them in the order that I read them because I have no idea what order I read them in. So yeah, let's get started. So the first books I'm going to show you is the series that I finished this month, and that is Clockwork Princess and Clockwork Prince. I gave Clockwork Prince 3 out of 5 and Clockwork Princess 4 out of 5. The reason Clockwork Prince got less is because I liked how clear the follow-on was. I did really enjoy that, and I absolutely loved Jess's involvement in everything. I thought it was such a good, I thought it used her character well, so she was no longer just like a ditzy character that didn't want to be a shadow hunter. She actually had a part in the proceedings and things like that. However, I didn't like the fact that there was so much information packed into this book and there wasn't enough explanation for my liking, so that's why it got slightly lower. However, Clockwork Princess did really well in terms of why I like it. I just genuinely enjoyed the fact that Cecily, for a start, got a explanation and she had her own character going on. And then I loved the tie-in with City of Heavenly Fire because I read City of Heavenly Fire first and didn't understand the ending that much. So I read this and I just absolutely adored the ending and thought it was such a good link to them all. I won't say that I liked the ending. I thought the ending, it all went too well, if you get what I mean. It all tied together too well and it was just a little bit frustrating. So yeah. So Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess. The next book I have to show you is Laini Taylor's Daughter of Smoke and Bone, which is the first in the book in the trilogy. I don't know what trilogy this is called actually. So, but I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5. I have to say, I was quite pleasantly surprised when I started reading this book. I was a little bit put off by it. The ending's not, a little bit slow and a little bit confusing. I had to work out whether Susanna was actually a chimera or whether she was her friend or what was going on. I thought that was a little bit confusing. But then once I got into the story, I thought it was a brilliant story and it was a brilliant, it was brilliantly executed so well. It's about a young girl who is a errand girl for a demon, and she has to keep her human life and her demon life separate, and it's the trouble she goes through to make sure that nobody finds out that she's an errand girl. So yeah. The next book I read, well, the next 2 books I read were part of the Summer of Spells read along. I won't be doing that in August because I have so many new books that I bought in my book haul, which I'll link down below, that I really want to read. So I've decided to put Harry Potter on the back burner because I feel like I've revisited it as much as I want to at the moment. So yeah. So the 2 books that I read were Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban. Don't think you need any explanation as to what happens in these books. These books got 5 out of 5 as always, and they always will. They are my favourite childhood books. They are my favourite series of books ever, and it won't ever change. So yeah. The next book I read and finished was A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I'm not even going to try and explain to you what happens in this. This book got a 4.5 out of 5. The only reason it didn't get a 5 was because it was so long and some bits I just felt dragged on a little bit and could have been cut down. But it was so good. The chapters are all told from a character's point of view, a character's life, rather than trying to keep up with where they are in the world and things like that. So I thought that was really cool. The next book I read was Where She Went, and this book got a 3 out of 5, and that is me being like super generous. I absolutely hated this book. Well, I didn't hate the book, I loved the book, but I hated certain aspects of the book. Like, for a fact that Adam compares him being dumped to Mia losing her whole family. I found that really, really irritating and really annoying, and I actually had to put the book down, and I was speaking to my boyfriend as to whether or not I could carry on reading it. I thought he had such a selfish perspective to his life point of view, and I felt that it was, I don't know, I found it very, very hard to sympathise with him when he's moaning basically about how shit his life is because Mia dumped him. So yeah, not good. Considering I gave If I Stay, I think it was 4 out of 5 stars. I was so excited to read this book, and it just let me down in every aspect, so yeah. The next book was Sea of Shadows, which is the first book of the Age of Legends trilogy, and I absolutely love this story. I gave it 4 out of 5. I loved the story, I loved the premise of the story, and I loved the concept. However, the ending, I think it was like the last 10 pages, brought it down to a 4. It was like one of those books where the ending was trying to be a cliffhanger, and it tried too hard, like too hard. So yeah, I gave it 4 out of 5 for that pure reason. But it follows two young twins who are the keeper and seeker, and every year they have to quieten the souls. So basically they go into a forest, find the corpses and give the souls peace, and then move on basically, and that's what they do. However, one year it all goes wrong, and they have to go on a massive journey across the waste and try and save the world basically, and it is so well done. It genuinely is really well done. However, the ending needs a little bit of work, but yeah. So that is all of my physical books, and the next books I read on my Kindle. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevers, and I absolutely adored this book. I really did. I gave it 4.5 out of 5, which is pretty high for me because I don't usually rate books that high. I loved the whole concept of this book. So it was kind of hard for me not to give it a 5. I loved the whole concept of the book. I loved the reason why they were worshipping death rather than God. I thought that was a really unique twist on religion. I didn't really dislike anything of it. I would like to learn more about the secondary characters. However, I haven't read the second book yet, so maybe that happens in the second book. So yeah. The next book I read was Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, otherwise known as J.K. Rowling, and I gave this book 4.5 out of 5. I absolutely loved this book. I hated The Casual Vacancy. I think I gave Casual Vacancy like 2.5, 3 stars on Goodreads. I just did not like The Casual Vacancy. I found it boring, and I found the characters uninteresting, and I really, really struggled to get all the way through The Casual Vacancy. However, with Cuckoo's Calling, you always kept on your edge. You always wanted to, what happens next. The only problem I had with it was the overuse of characters that were placed there for, like, the conventions. So there's always the characters that you think did it, that were the obvious choice to have done it. And I thought that this was slightly overdone. I also hated the boyfriend. Oh, he was so irritating and so annoying, and I just felt like his character was there for no good reason apart from to annoy us. So yeah. The next book is The Circle by David Egger. I also gave this book 3 out of 5. I really, really liked the concept. I wouldn't have picked it up if I didn't. It's about a company who owns the internet basically. So instead of having one account for Amazon and one account for Facebook and one account for YouTube. You just have one account for everything. It holds your social security number, your pay details, everything. And then it's about this company who are trying to search out how to like solve world hunger and crime and child abductions and everything, and it was such a good concept. However, my biggest problem with it was I could not understand how anybody could be so stupid. Like, I really did struggle with the fact that the main character doesn't realise what's going on around her, and she accepts the circle on, like, the blind faith of it, that, you know, they're doing what they're doing. She was willing to, like, stretch her moral code for the fact that it would be good in the long run. However, when you look at it, like, I think especially with the world that we're in today, like, I think our moral codes are a little bit sharper because of the presence of the internet and all of that sort of stuff. I think we're very aware of privacy and the morals that come with privacy and things like that. So I kind of felt like I couldn't connect with the characters because I thought that they were being so stupid and so, like, obviously stupid. So yeah, but give it a read. I mean, the concepts were good and I suppose the characters were alright, but the concept of the story was the best thing, and that's what redeemed it from a 2 to a 3. So yeah, the next book I read was 28½ Wishes by Denise Grover Swank, and this is actually free on Kindle, so I always endeavour to read at least one free book on Kindle a month. And I gave this book 3 out of 5. It was such a nice read. It was, after the heaviness of all my other books, it was such a nice read. It was such a nice beach read. I found it really easy to go through. I guess my only problem was that there was no commitment. You got snippets of the characters, but you had no real information to go on. The storyline was obvious and the ending was obvious, and I thought that it kind of ruined it. It was such a nice read as well that it would have been, you know, one of my favourites if it had been pulled off better, I suppose. So that's why I got a 3 out of 5. Oh, I'm out of breath. So many books. The next book I read was Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I've heard a hell of a lot of things on BookTube about this series, about how good it is, and I gave it 3 out of 5. I absolutely love Rose's character. I think it's so important, like, nowadays, that, like, girls have a role model that doesn't need saving, that, like, they don't wait for the lad to come and, like, save them and all the rest of it. And I thought it was so good and it was so well done. However, I hated Lissa. I hated the fact that she made this young girl's, like, whole life hell, and then there was no repercussions for her behaviour, that she just went on and she was perfectly happy. Like, she was happy being normal again after ruining everybody else's life, and I kind of felt like, how self-indulgent can you be? And that really, really ruined it for me. Like, it really did. I thought that, you know, there should have been some sort of consequence for what she did, and there was none. So yeah, the next book I read was a series of books, and that was Saga Volume 1, 2 and 3, and I gave this book 3.5 out of 5. I know that it's absolutely raved about on BookTube, and I really, really enjoyed the story. I thought that it was a very good adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, because that's basically what it is, apart from the fact that it's space and it's told from the child's point of view and that they haven't died yet. But I thought that the use of sex and language was done over the top and inappropriately. I didn't think it lost its impact after a while, and I kind of felt like, I don't know whether it's because I read them one after another, but I kind of felt like that it was becoming monotonous because they'd done it that many times, and I just didn't like it. So yeah, but I still gave it 3.5 out of 5. The art was absolutely fantastic and the story was fantastic. It was just, I didn't personally think that there was a need for that much profanity. So yeah. But that's it, guys. That is the 14 books that I read this month. So this will be going up on Wednesday, and then I will have my August TBR coming up on Friday with my Friday reads of what I plan to read over the weekend. But yeah, that's it guys. See you later.